Talia Winters leaned over the gleaming workbench of her humble mechanic's workshop. Blueprints and spare parts strewn around her like constellations in a nebula. Outside, the twin suns of Selenar 9 dipped toward the jagged horizon, casting long blood-orange shadows across the settlement of Dustreach. Her latest commission, a retrofitted mining drill for the Aurora mines, sat half-assembled under a flickering hololamp. The clang of metal and hiss of steam valves formed a familiar symphony. She was just tightening the coupling on a graviton stabilizer when the workshop's antiquated communications console crackled to life. The normally restrained mechanical hum was replaced by a high-priority chime. Talia's pulse quickened. Royal transmissions were rare out this far on the frontier. They were usually handled by Imperial dockyards, not local garages. With a practiced hand, she tapped the console. Pat-it. The room shifted to a pale iridescent glow as the holoprojector activated. There, hovering mid-air, was the austere visage of King Vortan 9. His ivory-white hair framed a gaunt face, and his deep violet eyes burned with imperial authority. He wore the ceremonial robes of the Celestian Empire, embroidered with silver, filigree that traced the galaxy's spiral arms. Mechanic Winters. The king's voice echoed through the workshop, vibrating against metal panels. Your reputation precedes you. I require your finest craftsmanship. Talia swallowed hard, fighting a surge of exhilaration. She'd dreamed of a royal commission since she first learned to recalibrate fusion cores. Working directly for the crown could secure her family's future and elevate her from the ragtag mechanics of Dustreach to the esteemed halls of the Imperial fleet. King Vortan continued, deliver one orbital skimmer-class vessel, model XJ-42. Fully outfitted for deep space reconnaissance and equipped with stealth shielding. I expect completion within 7 galactic cycles. 7 cycles, roughly 2 standard weeks. The timeline was as brutal as it was precise. Designing, fabricating, and outfitting an XJ-42 normally took months under ideal conditions in the Imperial dockyard. But royal decree overrode protocol. Failure was not an option. Talia straightened, her worn leather jacket creaking. Your Majesty, I accept. My workshop will begin preliminary designs immediately. Her voice was steady, though her heart hammered like a wartime drum. The king inclined his head. You will find the necessary high-grade polymetallic alloys awaiting. Your arrival at Imperial Dockyard Gamma. Transport is arranged. His image shimmered. Remember, Mechanic Winters, the fate of this sector depends on your success. Then the projection blinked out, leaving the workshop in semi-darkness. Talia stared at the empty air for a long moment, the weight of Imperial expectations settling onto her shoulders like a spacesuit. Sparks drifted from the workshop ceiling as her droids rebooted, oblivious to the enormity of the task ahead. She took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of burned circuitry and oil. Around her, tools beckoned. The drill sat, half-finished, a reminder of her modest beginnings. Now her path lay before her, from Dustreach's dusty floors to the silent void of orbit. With resolve hardening in her chest, Talia tapped her wristcom. Pip, she called to her navigator droid, plot a course for Imperial Dockyard Gamma, and Pip, maximize the jump drive. The droid's optical sensor blinked, and it emitted a single affirmative chirp as the workshop doors hissed open. To the swirling red winds of Selenar 9, Talia Winters stepped out, ready to defy expectations, determined to build a legend. The orbital docks of Imperial Dockyard Gamma thrummed with activity as Talia's skimmer-class transport slid into position. Landing clamps engaged with a metallic hiss, and the bay doors above rumbled open to reveal the swirling nebula beyond. Pip hovered at her side, its HoloLens casting diagnostic readouts across the reinforced hull plating. Docking complete, Pip intoned. Manifest shows a single sealed crate, serial marked with the King's seal. No further details. Talia frowned. A royal shipment should have come with schematics, supply manifests, anything to guide her work. Yet the crate bore no outward signs of its contents. She tapped her wristcom. Control tower, confirmed delivery. Were there any anomalies recorded during transit? A crackling response came back. Negative, Mechanic Winters. Clearance logs. Confirmed direct dispatch from the palace. Cargo manifest 1 unit, end of transmission. Curiosity gave way to unease. She activated the crate's release latches. Gears whirred, pneumatic pistons hissed, and the lid swung open to reveal not gleaming ship components but a living, breathing creature. The albino wolf stood within, fur as white as the frozen poles of Selenar 9. Its dark eyes reflected the workshop's hollow lights, and each measured breath exhaled a faint, violet-tinted mist. By the stars, Talia whispered. Before she could react, the wolf's hackles bristled. Its maw opened in a silent snarl, revealing rows of jagged fangs stained with rust-colored residue. Across its muzzle and shoulders, pustules oozed a sickly lavender ichor, and every pulsating vein glowed with an otherworldly light. Pip's sensors flared. Biological life form. Status. Unstable. Pathogens detected. Xenobiological infection. Present. Quarantine recommended. Talia backed away, wrench in hand. The wolf's gaze locked onto hers, and for a heartbeat, she saw desperation behind the feral menace, an intelligence struggling against pain. Then it lunged, smashing the crate's reinforced glass and crashing through the workshop doors, setting off klaxons and drawing startled shouts from dockyard workers. Containment breach. The dockmaster's voice roared over the intercom. Automated blast doors began to lower, but not fast enough. The wolf darted into the labyrinth of maintenance corridors beyond, disappearing into the shadows. Talia's chest heaved. She exchanged a determined glance with Pip. This was no accident. Whoever sent this cargo had deliberately hidden its nature, and now an infected bioweapon roamed the Imperial underbelly. She tightened her grip on the plasma wrench. "We're on this," she told Pip. "If that wolf is meant to be a weapon, I'll figure out why and stop whoever put it here." As the dock sealed behind her, Talia plunged into the unknown depths of the facility. Every instinct, Talia kicked open the blast door and stepped onto the grated catwalk that wrapped around the yawning mouth of the underlevels. Beneath her, endless corridors branched like the ribcage of some ancient beast, each lit by sputtering amber lamps. A sour metallic tang hung in the air, mingled with the hiss of ruptured coolant pipes. Pip hovered at her shoulder, its hollow projection casting wavering blue arrows toward the wolf's last known signature. "Thermal spike ahead," Pip whispered. "But readings are erratic. Wolf's infection is interfering with sensors." Talia slid her plasma wrench into a magnetic holster. "Then we go old school." She reached for a scrap laser torch, its barrel scarred from years of frontier repairs. Heart pounding, she advanced into the tunnel. The wolf's footprints, pale droplets of bioluminescent ichor, traced a path along the floor grating. Each step seemed purposeful, almost ceremonial. Talia pressed on, scanning the walls for access panels she could pry open to peer down hidden shafts. Shadows shifted, steel plates groaned. She wondered if the beast lurked just around the next bend, watching. At a junction littered with discarded service drones, she paused. A distant clang echoed, and she caught movement out of the corner of her eye. Turning sharply, she found herself face to face with Lord Varos, draped in the Empire's dark envoy cloak. His thin-lipped smile gleamed in the dim light. "Ah, Mechanic Winters," he murmured, voice as smooth as polished obsidian. I see you've discovered our little surprise. Talia bristled. You set me up. This wolf, this monster, was never meant for containment. It was meant to hunt. Varos shrugged. A test of your loyalty. Only the clever survive. With a flick of his wrist, an emergency lock engaged in the corridor behind Talia. But I'll leave you to play detective. He melted back into the gloom, boots clicking away. Alone again, Talia exhaled, fury and fear mingling in her chest. She stomped forward until the passage opened into a vast maintenance chamber. Pipes arched overhead like metal vines, dripping neon green coolant into shallow pools. At the far end, the albino wolf prowled atop a rusted service module, its muzzle stained and its posture tense. You won't scare me, Talia called, voice echoing. She pulled 2 tether mines from her belt, experimental shock traps she'd been tinkering with, and set them in a loose triangle. Pip projected a holographic grid as Talia calibrated the timers. The wolf's ears pricked. Its black eyes locked onto Talia's. It snarled, each infected pustule pulsing in time with her racing heartbeat. Then it sprang. Talia dove aside, firing, the laser torch to blind its path. The first tether mine snapped to life, ensnaring its foreleg in crackling energy. The second sent a pulse that knocked the wolf off balance. Panting, Talia crept forward, plasma wrench raised. The wolf, caught in the net, snarled defiantly, but its strength was ebbing. Talia crouched beside it, meeting its gaze. Whoever made you didn't think you'd have a mind of your own, she murmured. With Pip's containment field generator hovering at her back, she reached for the override console on the nearest access panel, intent on sealing the creature in a stasis pod. As the generator hummed to life, Talia realized this hunt was more than a chase. It was a collision between the Empire's cruelest secrets and her own code of honor. And in the echo of the underlevels, the mechanist and the wolf shared a moment of fragile understanding. Before the doors hissed shut around, Talia emerged from the underlevels with the wolf secured in a field stasis pod, its faint heartbeat echoing through the containment walls. Pip hovered beside her, its optical sensors flickering as it ran a diagnostic on the pathogen. The corridor, lights once dim and foreboding, now felt sterile and clinical beneath the glow of the pod's safety bars. Back in her workshop bay, she set the pod atop reinforced supports and initiated the pod's decontamination sequence. The airlock closed, with a pneumatic hiss, and the pod's internal lights shifted from crimson to cool white. Panels slid open, revealing the albino wolf restrained but conscious, its ebony eyes tracking her every move. Pip projected the data it had gleaned in the underlevels, genetic sequencing of the pustular infection, annotated schematics of the containment field, and a single troubling log entry intercepted from Lord Varos's personal feeds. Talia's jaw tightened as she scrolled through the envoy's encrypted directive. Deploy Bio-Alpha Unit. Operation White Eclipse. Target, Seliner 9. Objective, quell insurgent activity by strategic release. Mechanic Winters' XJ-42 commission is diversionary. Her knuckles whitened on the data pad. The king had not merely tricked her, he had weaponized her skills to conceal a bioweapon deployment. Overnight, she had become complicit in a crime against her own world. She tapped her wristcom. Pip, run a full containment integrity check. Then upload all intercepted logs to the Imperial Ethics Board anonymously. They need proof. The droid chirped assent, its hollow arms whirring as it interfaced with the workshop's firewall. Data streams flowed into secure network buffers. Talia paced the bay, mind racing. She thought of Dustreach's miners, of the families she'd left behind. If Vortan's wolf got loose on Selinar 9 settlements, it would spread the infection, like wildfire, and she would bear responsibility. Determination hardened in her chest. This mission had shifted. It was no longer about skimmers or stealth shields. It was about stopping the betrayal at the Empire's core. She crouched beside the pod, speaking softly to the wolf. I'm sorry you're caught in this, but I won't let them destroy you or us. With trembling fingers, she overrode the pod's default quarantine protocol and activated a specialized terraforming inoculant. Nutrient simulants and antitoxin nanites flooded the containment field, designed to neutralize the purple pathogen without harming the host. The wolf's ears twitched. Its fiery black eyes softened as the nanites coursed through its veins. A low, mournful whine escaped its throat. Talia placed a gentle hand on the pod's transparent alloy wall. You're going to help me bring them down. Moments later, Pip announced, Containment stabilization, 92%. Pathogen inerted. Wolf vital signs stable. Relief washed over Talia, though her face remained grim. She retrieved her plasma wrench and, with one swift blow, deactivated the lock on the pod's hatch. Before the stasis field collapsed, she whispered, Follow my lead and trust me. The pod's restraints folded away, and the wolf stepped out onto the polished bay floor, its alabaster fur now streaked with nanite tracers that glowed soft blue. As the colossal bay doors shuttered open once more, Talia and the once-infected wolf emerged side by side. Beyond lay the polished corridors of the Imperial Palace, where secrets festered behind every gilded arch. She glanced at Pip, then at her unlikely companion. Let's go retrieve our proofs, and unmask the true face of the Galactic King. With that, a human mechanic, a sentient wolf-turned ally, and a loyal droid set their course toward the heart of Talia. Winters strode down the marble corridor of the Imperial Palace, her plasma wrench clicking against her thigh, Pip hovering in silent escort. At her side, the albino wolf, now free of its infection, moved with quiet dignity, its fur gleaming under the overhead biolights. Each footstep echoed past towering hollow portraits of Celestian monarchs, as if the ancestors themselves were watching this reckoning unfold. At the end of the hall, twin doors swung open to reveal the grand audience chamber. At its center, King Vortan Nime sat upon his obsidian throne, flanked by nervous courtiers. When Talia and her companions entered, the courtiers recoiled. Even the palace guards stood rigid with uncertainty. Mechanic Winters, the king intoned, his violet eyes narrowing. You trespass in my court with a monstrosity of your own making. Talia stepped forward, lifting a crystalline data cube. Not a monster, an innocent, and I have proof of your conspiracy. With a gesture, the cube projected intercepted orders in midair. Lord Varos's directive for Operation White Eclipse, the pathogen logs, and the anonymous plea to the Imperial Ethics Board. Courtiers gasped. The guards shifted uneasily. The wolf padded to stand before the throne, its obsidian gaze locked on Vortan. It let out a single, low growl, less a threat than a demand for justice. Pip materialized the containment pod's nanite tracer record, showing the wolf's rescue and cure. A tense silence fell. At last, Vortan rose, the weight of the evidence reflected in his regal bearing. You have turned my own tools against me, he said quietly. Yet in doing so, you have reminded me of the virtues I once prized. He waved his hand, and the guards lowered their weapons. Talia's heart pounded. Your Majesty, the people of Selenar 9 trusted you. They deserve truth, not terror. Vortan inclined his head toward the wolf. This creature was never meant to die. Its suffering and your courage reveals the cost of my ambition. He turned to his courtiers. Hear this. Operation White Eclipse is hereby suspended. Lord Varos is to stand trial for treason, and Mechanic Winters shall be granted the commission she was promised, on honorable terms. A murmur of relief rippled through the chamber. Talia allowed herself a small, triumphant smile. The king stepped down from his throne and approached her, extending a hand. "Join me, Chief Engineer Winters. Together we will rebuild trust across the Empire, starting with Selenar 9. She glanced at the wolf, then back at the king. "I accept, provided there are no more secrets." Vortan nodded solemnly. "None. From this day forward, the Celestian Empire stands in the light." As Talia clasped his hand, Pip projected a final hologram. The registered treaty of Selenar 9, guaranteeing autonomy and protection. The wolf gave a soft, contented whine, as if sensing a new era dawning. And so, in the heart of the Imperial Palace, a human mechanic, an albino wolf, and a humbled monarch forged an unexpected alliance, one that would echo across the stars as a testament to integrity, reconciliation,